All right, welcome to episode 2 of the RatCast, one of your favorite PvP podcasts for Elder Scrolls Online. I'm Icy with Icyfire Gaming, and today we have Shoddy. How you doing, Shoddy?
Hello again.
And our second guest is Camera. How you doing, Camera?
Pretty good.
And today, Candle is on vacation. I think what is he, petting some or hanging out with some alpacas over in Peru for vacation. So I'm sure he can tell us a little bit about that when he gets back next week, but we'll make sure to have him at that point in time. So today, we're actually going to talk about some of the new sets that are going to be dropping with the High Isle patch in the next day or so by the time this video comes out. So we're just going to give our 2 cents from like a PvP perspective. And a lot of these sets I think are PvE related, but they could be used in a PvP context. So we're going to make sure we go over all those types of things, and let's just jump into it. So for the first set, we do have the first section is Overland Sets, and the first one we got is the Blessing of High Isle, which has a line of Max Mag, Max Magicka, and a line of Magicka Recovery. And the fifth line reads, when you are healed while in combat, increase your weapon and spell damage by 369 for 5 seconds. So,
It's
go ahead, Shadi.
sorry. I was just gonna say this is basically Talfigs without the downside to it. If you remember, Talfigs is a flat 369 when active, but then you take the extra damage. The difference here being that when healed, and I assume this is by either an ally or yourself, you get it for 5 seconds.
So I'm a necromain, obviously. My mind goes to a place where I am curious if Ghost procs this, because if Ghost doesn't proc it, it's definitely unusable on Necro, unless you're running Tether and you have it up like all the time. This would never really proc on a Necro, and I think the cooldown's a little too short to one bar it. You could one bar it with a little bit of success, but you'd probably have to front bar it, I would say. And I think there's better sets that you could front bar, probably. But it's not bad by any means. It's a
And
lot of weapon and spell damage, and theoretically it can be one barred. So it's not terrible.
it's basically SPC but worse
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well. Like I said, it's Talfig but better, but it's SPC but worse at the same time because you get no additional value if you have like teammates with you, and it's actually just less. It's what, there's 61 less weapon and spell
Yeah, because I think
with the
Major
same
Courage was it 420 or 450?
430.
430. Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
13
But yeah,
minus 7. Yeah.
really curious to see if Ghost procs this or not, because pets aren't supposed to proc sets, but the reading on this one's a little weird because it's just when you are healed, which theoretically could mean, I guess, from any source.
Yeah,
We'll see.
yeah, I think Zos, I know I've always said this in the past, but like Zos is very, very particular with how they write their tooltips and stuff. So if it's not in there, then it probably won't count. But in this case, I think the intensive mender, or whichever morph you use of the Spirit Guardian, whatever, I think it's gonna work. I think it might.
It might, but you'd be surprised with Ghost. It'll come up in a set later, but I'll talk about something I worry about with Necropets
Okay.
uh, in some sets later on.
And so you did mention, Camera, can you backbar this set? I wonder if it might have the same case with Oblivion's Foe, where if you backbar Oblivion's Foe and you cast your, was it Soul Siphoning or Soul Tap, whatever it's called, if you cast it but then bar swap before it actually hits your target, then it's not going to proc because you're not
Right.
on the set with it. So if you say you do a back bar vigor, but then your vigor's on your back bar, but then you do a quick bar swap animation cancel, will this still proc your set because you didn't get the heal tick while you're on the
Right,
bar?
right. That's something a little different that you always got to keep in mind with five pieces versus like arena weapons. Arena weapons will always carry over because it actually modifies the skill, whereas these five-piece sets, if you bar swap cancel it, depending on the set, it might not proc.
Mm-hmm. Shotty, do you think this would be? Do you think a healer would ever wear this set? I don't really think so.
No, healers are looking for sets that benefit their team most of the time, or if you're going selfish, then you're probably going for tankiness.
Mm-hmm.
So this fits neither of those criteria.
Copy. Okay. So for the second set, again, this is the Overland section, is Steadfast Metal. It's got a line of stamina recovery, 2 lines of max stamina, and the 5th line reads, while you have a food buff active, reduce the cost of your core combat abilities by 25%. So this almost seems like it will counter all of the effects of Ethereal Ascension on the 5th line.
This is
I believe
basically
so. That's everything, right? Core combat is like dodge, block, and then does that also count your abilities themselves, or is it just dodge, block, sprint?
It's the core combat, so it's the dodge, the block,
Okay,
Break free,
break free,
sprint.
right.
sneak, sprint.
So I guess not. It's not horribly terrible, but I think it's a little unnecessary.
Okay, so there is a CP in the red tree that is this 5-piece bonus, actually.
Really?
Which is, yes, it is the exact same thing. It's just without the food. Instead of a food buff, it's when you have a negative effect on you. But the thing is...
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah. So in the case of CP, it's actually very valuable when it comes from the stars, like one of the 4 stars that you can align, because this is, it's an additional like extra blocking, extra sprint, dodge roll, and stuff. However, I don't think it will have the same value as a 5-piece set because it is much more costly to use your 5-piece on something like this than it is to just place a little star in the corner when you got 4 slots. So I don't see it having the same value as that CP does. But
So the one place I could see it maybe having some value would be someone looking to build like troll levels of tankiness, right?
block
Where they can
tanks,
just,
right?
block tanking. Just sit there, hold block all day, and
Yeah.
not take any damage. You're not going to kill anything, but you're never going to get killed if your block costs
It's
literally
a
0.
sustain set, but the thing is, the best sustain set still Wretched Vitality.
Right.
I was also kind of thinking maybe if you ran the set, instead of using the traditional sturdy, well-fitted things like that, that would help
That is true,
lower your
yes.
stuff. You could opt for, say, 7-piece divines or...
That's actually a good point. You could theoretically squeeze out a lot of damage by running divines. So like for someone like myself who runs all well-fitted all the time, like I'm not all well-fitted, but I run mostly well-fitted pretty much all my builds because I like dodge rolling a lot. I dodge roll a little too much. And if I were to run this set, I don't think I would, but it would allow me to run like divines and squeeze out more damage or more mag recovery or whatever I wanted to put in that spot.
I guess it depends how you build, because I already do 4 divines on most of my builds.
Right. It depends on how you build, I guess.
And
I still don't think it'd be worth running, but it's interesting nonetheless. It could find its, niche use. And like I said, block tanking, it's probably a no-brainer if you're just looking to block a Zerg all day.
Yeah,
Or
especially
even like flag hump in BGs.
And especially since it's kind of giving you like 2 lines of max stamina.
Right.
It's like, hey, here's an idea. All right. So for the third set, we've got I don't even know how to pronounce that. Sistra Scowl, I think. It's got a line of max stamina, max health, max stamina, and the 5th line reads, when you bash an enemy, place Sistra Scowl on them for 15 seconds. When hit by a light attack, a target with this Sistra Scowl takes 2,000 frost damage up to once every second.
So call me crazy, but I think this build has a very niche use. In that you could build either a Sork or a Magden, a light attack build where your light attacks just deal crazy amounts of damage. You bash someone, you put that on them, you run like Torug's Pact front bar with an infused frost glyph if you're on Magden or shot glyph if you're on Sork. And then I guess this would just be Magden because it deals frost damage, right? And then you cast Ellie Weapon into a Force Pulse and you could chunk people pretty quick.
Yeah, I could see that
But
being
I don't know if
the
it's enough
case.
damage to really. It's hard to tell because I
I
don't think these tooltips are scaled right, are they?
No,
I
it didn't say if it scaled off of weapon or spell damage, and I don't know if it
yeah.
scales off of, like, say if I was wearing the set, would it, and you did the light attack, is it going to scale from you or is it from me?
Yeah, so the tooltip doesn't actually say scales off your highest, X resource or stat. So it might actually be a flat number, similar to like old heavy attack sets.
Hmm.
Which could be interesting. Because 2k damage, if it's a flat number, that's a lot. I mean, think of Draugr, right? Like a lot of people run Draugr right now, and that's only 600, 700 damage.
Well, the thing about Dragonkin is
Obviously,
it's
yeah, obviously this is
yeah.
only applying to your light attacks, but it's still a light attack per second if you're on point with your light weaves.
I think the problem that I have with this set is that it has multiple conditions,
Right.
and I like to play a build that um, doesn't require me to really think about the conditions I need to meet in order for it to work. I like the build to just work, and then I can focus on the gameplay of the what's going on.
Yeah, I think we were talking about a shoddy the other day. You prefer more like passive
Streamlined
benefits.
sets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like passive streamlined sets as opposed to like having an active requirement for you to proc it.
Yeah, I know that it's working
I
in the
typically
background.
agree. Um, I just like to, think about the interesting things you could potentially pull off, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I could kind of see this on some sort of like a bash tank, I guess, where say you were Zergan with a bunch of PvEers
Yeah, I guess the
and
question would also be if it only applies to your light attacks or everyone's, because it seems like it applies to everyone's, which could be realistically kind of good if you have one person just calling out targets, when you're fighting another group.
Well, it's still up to once every second, so
Right.
that would only really work if you're missing light attacks, which hopefully you're not doing.
Hopefully.
yeah. And I think I would see it more in like a Cyrodiil context too, or not really Cyrodiil, but like a 12-person context for PvP. As I don't think in BGs it wouldn't really bring too much value. Or did I say PvP? No, in BGs I meant. Yeah. All right, so that covers all the Overland sets. For the crafted sets, we have the first one being Order's Wrath. It has a line of crit chance, weapon and spell damage, another line of crit chance, a third line of crit chance, and then the fifth line reads increases your crit damage and crit chance by 8%.
This set looks good. I am very interested to get my hands on this set. I am a big fan of crit damage because even with today's, the days of rallying cry, um, crit damage is still king when it comes to AoE damage. I mean, you can reach some serious numbers. It's just the issue is there's very few ways to stack crit damage and very few ways to stack crit chance because you kind of got to go all in on one or the other. And this set is not only craftable, but it gives the best of both worlds. So I'm interested in this set and to see where you can go with it. Especially when considering Oaken Soul next patch will be giving major force. Yeah, you run Oaken Soul with this, you're getting 28% crit damage, and you're only running, you still have another 5-piece set. Your Mundus, your race can still be crit damage. Like, you can stack some serious numbers.
So yeah, I generally kind of agree. I think this set would be a lot less valuable if it didn't have that 5-piece additional crit
For
chance.
sure, yeah.
At that point, I wouldn't really rate it that high, but that little extra is it's the little things that matter, so they say. But that little extra there on the top actually pushes it to the edge of where, like, yeah, I could see this be pretty good. The other thing is that this is going to be a set that you're going to use on probably like a 50-50 build, right? Because 8% crit damage by itself, maybe not the craziest thing in the world, but then when you get 8% critical healing as well. The good thing about critical healing is that it doesn't change. There's no mitigation. It's always the exact amount that you have stacked up. So the base amount being 50, This would make it 58. You're always going to get 58% more healing whenever you crit. And of course, this set gives you a lot of critical chance. So it makes it where your healing as a 50-50 player will be quite substantial.
Mm-hmm. Camera, so you said you would consider using this set. So I guess
I mean, I'm going to be real. I already have a build ready to go with this set. So the thing to compare this set to is Archer's Mind, right? Because right now Archer's Mind is the critical damage and healing by 8% set.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, there's two main differences that prevent me from running Archer's Mind that this set has that makes me want to run it. Archer's Mind, instead of a line of weapon and spell damage, has a line of stamina, which isn't terrible, but weapon and spell damage is going to boost your healing a lot more. And when the 5-piece has crit damage and crit healing, you're going to want that weapon and spell damage to juice up your healing numbers even more. The other thing is that line of crit chance. 950, what is it? 943. That's a lot of crit chance. I think it's like 1200 crit chance for I don't remember the exact calculation off the top of my head, but 943 should be giving you, I think, like 5% crit chance, almost 7% crit chance, maybe. It's a lot. So it goes a long way, and crit chance is harder and harder to stack nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might not be that high.
It might not be that high, yeah. It's a lot.
Closer to
it's a chunk.
4%, I think.
I'll be honest, I don't know why they use these crazy whole numbers. They should just use percentages.
Yeah, just use percentages now.
Yeah,
we make it so much easier.
It's quite confusing. Like, people have figured out that critical chance has always been kind of weird.
Yeah.
Well, critical chance I think has also changed over the years too, like back and forth, as in terms of what the exchange rate on it is. But whatever. Point is, gives you more healing than Archer's Mind because of that line of weapon and spell damage, and then the crit chance really does go a long way.
So since we're on the topic of crit damage and crit healing, this has always been a question that I've always wondered. Do you think they should add to minor force and major force a crit healing modifier to it?
I think that would be a little too much.
Yeah, I think healing is already overtuned. I could see it maybe down the line, or if they do add it, maybe tone down like healing done and healing taken modifiers by like half, and then add in an extra buff that's like crit healing. But healing numbers right now are kind of through the roof in all aspects of the game, so I don't really think there's a need for that right now.
Yeah, because I know there's a lot of consistency with, I think, the Khajiit passive has got both of them on there. This set technically has them, but they're unique. You got the Munda Stone, which has them both on there, but then, the minor and major force, it's just got, half that component. And it seems like over the last maybe year or so, they've been, starting to true up a lot of those things where they're putting both of those modifiers together as one. So
no, I mean, I agree that it would make sense. They added Major Brittle as well.
But like you were saying, I think it might be too much, actually.
Right. Yeah. Just
again, like I said earlier, critical healing is unmitigated. There's no reduction to it, right? Other than, I mean, I guess you could say a defile technically is a percentage reduction to all the healing, but I mean, like most people have crit resist, so crit damage usually gets toned down by the amount of crit resist people receive. There's no really way to tone down the crit healing. So if you just have a ton of crit healing modifiers and then a decent crit chance, then it would just kind of go crazy.
Yeah. And I know when they introduced Oaken Soul, I was always not Oaken Soul, what was it? It was on one of my build videos that I did for my debuff warden, and I think I was talking about very briefly, making a change to Kind Marchers where they would remove the major breach since we have so many sources of it, and then throw on something else like major timidity or something, right? The opposite of what major heroism would be. And along that line of thinking, I was looking at Daedric Trickery and I was like, well, we have... we don't have major resolve, so I don't think there should be major breach on the Kind Marchers. But we also have major mending and major vitality, a healing done and a healing received component. But major defile would just attack both of those in one. So I was thinking, should we just kind of combine healing done and healing received? But then I was thinking more about it. I was like, that might actually break the game because healing is going to double all in one thing, but then you're kind of attacking it at both. So I don't know. It seemed like I was getting myself into trouble the more I was thinking about it. And yeah, I don't even know.
I don't know. I think there definitely should be whether I mean we don't have to talk about this for long, obviously, but I think they should definitely either increase the value of Defile back to what it once was, or just tone down something to do with cross healing, whether it's limiting hots that you can put on someone from the same source, or having some sort of debuff to tone down cross healing itself, like
It's,
healing other players specifically.
it's important that they don't reduce the amount of healing that you do to yourself. I think
Right.
that's in a fine spot as it is. And I would be more in favor of doing things like Defile and maybe like introducing new debuffs towards healing, even like different debuffs other than just Defile. I don't know, but I'm not really. I really want to make that point that they should never touch the healing that you do to yourself, because then it gets very punishing and really drags you down. It should be more so geared towards the amount of healing that you do towards others in some way.
I guess I'm trying to think of like some of the sources that would lower your healing. Obviously, you have major, minor defile, and then I guess you could also count like major, minor cowardice as well, because that lowers your weapon and spell damage, which also helps boost your healing.
Yes.
So
what they could do is they could double the effect. So major defile, I believe, is healing done and received, right?
Yeah, both. Yep.
So what they could do is just double or like add an extra component of like healing done to other players, right? So healing done received and healing done to other players.
So you're
by
saying
blah, blah, blah
like 16% healing done and received, and then an additional like I don't know 8% of healing done to others or something.
Right. Yeah, something like that. So it kind of nerfs. It touches exactly what you're saying, where the healing done to yourself will not change, but you won't be able to heal others as helpful, or just add it as an extra buff or debuff.
You know what? I'm looking at the tooltip for it. It says decrease your healing received by 16, and then decrease your health regen by 16%.
So they could do healing received and healing done to other players, right?
Yeah, that would certainly do something, because healing done affects yourself and other players.
Right.
Heard it here first, Loss. All right, so yeah, we've been talking about that for a while. The second set of these new crafted sets is Serpent's Disdain. It's got a line of max stamina, max health, max magicka, and then the fifth line reads, increase the duration of status effects you apply by 16 seconds.
So the 2-3-4, not really that impressive, but really not that bad either. I like at least that the health is on the third slot, so that you're not like having that weird health where you go back and forth. I feel like sometimes they put it on that fourth slot and it really triggers me.
Because then when you go to your back bar, you're missing out on the health.
Yeah. Though in most cases, I don't really I haven't tested this set or anything, but I'm not sure if this is like a front barable set where you like apply the status effect, increases it by 16 seconds, and then you can go to the back bar, or do you have to stay with it on, kind of like with
I would
Light Seed?
I would assume this is a front barable set or a back barable set, just based on the fact that when you get applied a status effect, it is a debuff on your character sheet that has a set time. So I would assume that on application, it is increased by 16 seconds. So it's a 20-second debuff. And so that debuff is now on you for 20 seconds. And if you swap to a different bar, it'll stay that 20 seconds.
Now,
but it's obviously testing.
This set, I think, I don't go to the PTS and test stuff, but this set, I think, is going to be one of the strongest, if not the strongest, dot sets in the game.
I agree.
It's not it doesn't say dots. It doesn't apply any dots, but the thing is that status effects have some very powerful dots, especially if you're a Dragon Knight. So Dragon Knight increases the poison status effect by 50% and the burning status effect by 50%. That's a lot of extra damage on those. That's 2 out of the 3 of the damage over time status effects, being the third one being the
Hemorrhaging.
bleeding one, which is hemorrhaging, gives you the bleed damage over time and reduces their health by 10%. So
Yeah, the minor mangle.
I could see people, and I do foresee this happening, a lot of people going for like builds, and probably on Dragon Knights again, where they use the Dragon Knight toolkit to get burning damage, they get the poison damage, and then they use a set or an ability to go for the hemorrhaging. And so you just can permanently have people burning, permanently have them on poison. You won't be getting as much resources because that's going to be nerfed, but it does mean that as soon as the cooldown is done, you're getting the resource guaranteed. And then
Well,
people's
not even
health
when
are
the cooldown's
permanently
done,
down.
because you can apply status effects even if they're already up. So you're
Well, I
still
mean
getting
the
it.
resource
Oh, the
return.
resource cooldown,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And then permanent 10% less HP. This also means that some builds could go for AoE Frost and nerf teams by 5% damage permanently, or shock, permanent 5% increase. And I say permanent because with 20 seconds, you really have enough time to reapply stuff very easily and almost just keep it up forever, right? It really it's 20 seconds, but in reality it's almost forever because it's not going to drop off unless you get lazy.
So, in order to counter this, do you guys think that we're going to see like a resurgence on, maybe sets that can cleanse like Curse Eater or Stendars, or maybe just,
I
people...
don't think sets that can cleanse, just because I think then you run into the issue of plague breaking in the middle of a group, which, let's be real, the plague break, the strength of plague break comes from the on death effect, not necessarily the purge effect, but it's still a worry. I think, but I do think more people that aren't running purges this patch could start to run purges if you see a lot of DKs and even Necros running this set.
Yeah, and
for dot
Necro's the
sets.
other thing that has the option to run this set with the new scythe that gives them easy access to hemorrhaging.
And 100% uptime on minor, minor mangle is pretty strong. Minus 10% health permanently. That's really good.
Something else I was gonna say. I lost track. Oh well. But yeah, I foresee this being a very powerful set. It's gonna, even just stacking the 3 damage over time status effects will make this pretty much a meta set. But anything else that you can add will just add on top of that and make it even more and more powerful. I think it's a very powerful set.
So if you were running this in like a group setting, you'd probably only need one person running this to like just dot everybody the hell up and then just kind of lay waste afterwards.
So,
Absolutely.
the first thing that comes to my mind when thinking about what I would run with this set is I would run a Frost Staff on back bar for the block and run Elisus, Elemental Susceptibility, because you could throw Elisus on someone, swap to your front bar if you're running this set on your front bar, and every 3 seconds, Elemental Susceptibility is going to be applying a status effect. So you're going to get all the elemental status effects.
I disagree.
You disagree, okay?
I disagree. I think that you're spending too much time to apply that elemental susceptibility on people with, I mean, yes, the set is, adding the 20 seconds onto it, but you're not doing anything else. I think a much better option would be to just use a charged force pulse.
That's true, yeah.
Or something.
But
that
with it, I guess you could just do charged back bar with a force pulse on that.
However you like it. If you want to put it on your
I was
front,
just thinking it in the
too.
idea of running it dual wield front bar, but if you wanted to do that, you could as well.
Well, you get the damage reduction, the damage increase by 5%, and then also you're also applying burning again. But then you also get the minor Magicka still as well from the AoE cleave. And then because you're applying all this stuff AoE, I hope so. It should be noted that this should be used in an AoE setting, in my opinion. If you're applying stuff in an AoE fashion, you're pretty much guaranteeing that Force Pulse is hitting 3 targets, the initial plus the 2, and then you're also going to be applying minor magicka steel, so you're getting an extra 300 and something odd
You know,
magicka return.
the more we talk about this, like the worse it gets. Oh my god.
Yeah, no, this set is going to be very, very strong. Like,
Yeah.
make no mistake. It will be used a lot. By DKs and Necros especially. I could see Magdans running it too, just because they're all about applying chilled and everything. But I think Necros and DKs with the DK burning and poison buff and then the
Oh,
Necro dot buff.
that reminds me. What do you think about, the ice staff applying the what do you
My,
think about builds where they apply the major crit damage increases on people?
oh, the
Like the
Oh,
minor
major and
Major
minor.
Brittle. You mean with Noon Attack?
minor
Both
brittle.
potentially. Yeah, you
Well,
could
yeah,
do
yeah, but you would
major
have
and
to run
minor.
Noon Attack because
Yeah, you
it's
could.
the only way to apply it.
Yeah, I mean, what if you did that though? Like you just had permanent 30% increase on people.
So you could do that. The only thing is, um, even the crit damage vulnerabilities still apply to the hard cap of 125. Now, crit people run a lot of crit resist nowadays, so it's not a bad thing if you go over that hard cap by any means. And a permanent 30% would obviously make it way easier to hit that cap of crit damage, even if they have crit resist. So I don't think it's a terrible idea, especially
It
if you're
was
running it in a group setting and you're running with someone who has a lot of crit damage. You start applying major and minor brittle on people for other people in your party, and they're going to be, players are going to be dropping like flies.
yeah. It was more of a fun idea that I thought of, just like,
Oh
hey,
yeah,
what
no,
if I
I've
just
definitely thought about that kind of stuff too.
just make it where everybody does 30% more crit damage to these people? I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's pretty funny too. A lot of different ways you can use this set. I think it's probably the most interesting set, out of the 5 pieces in the whole chapter, in my opinion.
So I would also, my only concern with that is minor brittle might not really. So the major brittle definitely won't be up 100% of the time because it's
Right.
only up as often as Noon Attack is up. The minor brittle also might not be because minor brittle is a weird condition. It's not attached to the status effect. It's applied when you apply chilled while wielding a frost staff. So you would have to be applying chilled really, really often. If you're running a frost staff on a Magden, you're applying minor brittle all the time, so it doesn't really matter. But that's just something you got to keep in mind.
Yeah, yeah.
I've noticed it's pretty easy to use when you're running a charged, an ice staff, charged straight with a frost enchant. I can get it
Yes.
on a non-warden character, very easily, like every 4 or 5 seconds.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Frost Clench also always applies minor, or well, minor. Sorry, it always applies chilled, which means it always applies minor brittle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whew. Future's looking bright.
Magden.
All right, and the last crafted set for High Isle is the Druids Braid, which is the first 12-piece set, and it's got a 12 lines of stats, health, magic and stamina, health, max stam, all the way down, 4 times over. But then it scales after line 5, everything increases. So the max magicka goes from 1,000 to 1,500. The max health goes from 12 to 1,700, and then the same thing for stamina, which goes from 1,000 to 15. So it scales a little bit, but it's going to be a lot of max stats.
So I would never obviously run all 12 pieces of this set. However, you could use it as a training set while you're just leveling up. It's a really easy thing just to go into your crafting and, craft 12 pieces of this, chuck it in the bank, and now you have a good training set for all of your characters. My other idea, where my mind goes with this is running it with trainee, right? Say you don't want the extra piece of magicka that trainee would give you if you were to run 2 pieces of trainee. You could run trainee and this and get an extra line of health. Obviously, this isn't as much. The 1 piece wouldn't be as much health as trainee, but it's still more health. It's a 1-piece set of health, which is never a bad thing.
Right, because some setups you do a 5-piece on the body, you do a monster, and you do an arena on the front and back, plus a mythic. And then you have 2 slots left, which is usually 2-piece trainee, but 2-piece trainee doesn't really benefit stam characters. So this gives them now the option to forego the extra magicka that they would get from the second trainee piece and go for another line of health.
Which is always good. Damage is crazy high, so health is always welcome.
Yeah, and I think the trainee piece is 1,400. Yeah, 1,450.
1,453.
Nice. Okay.
But otherwise, this set, it's very memey in my opinion. I think the problem is they don't scale it enough. I think it would have been interesting if they had started the 1, 2, 3 at a relatively low value, but then doubled it with each lap of doing the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, that would be a lot. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, you would obviously scale down the first 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then if you actually wear all 12, by the end of it, the last, the 10, 11, 12, you're actually getting like just a ton of resources, and then you could just wear this set and be like one of those guys that have like 50k HP with like 40k mag and stab or stuff. I mean, that would be too much, but like you could tone it down and say like, oh, they get closer to like 40.
I mean,
HP.
I would definitely be laughing, but so for an example, right? We'll say like the line 1, 2, and 3, we start at 500, and then 4, 5, 6 is 1,000, and then 7, 8, 9 is 2,000, and then 10, 11, 12 is 4,000. Okay.
Yeah.
And honestly, if some knucklehead wants to run around with like 50k health and like over 30k max max magic and stamina, or over 35k on both sets.
Yeah, like obviously you wouldn't be getting anything else, you'd just be getting max stat, but
I mean, I guess a sort could probably make use of that. It'd maybe let them use shields decently.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be a troll when somebody's like, oh, what sets you running? And they just say, I'm running 12 pieces of this.
12-piece druid.
You run 11 pieces and then 1-piece death dealer.
Oh, Jesus, for an extra, 3k. Actually, yeah, because you'd be giving up 4,000 stamina, and then you'd get
4,000 stamina, but you get 2,640 stamina back from the death dealers anyways.
Yeah, in addition to the, I guess, 26 of health and magicka too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I think that would be more fun. I'm pretty disappointed they didn't go that route. As it is, nobody's going to actually consider this set in any setting as being valid for the whole 12-piece.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they make a change in the future and scale it for the comedy, for the meme value.
Scale it more aggressively.
Oh, yeah. All right. Next is the trial sets. The first one is the Perfected Whirl of the Depths. Let's see. I'm going to read the perfected version, of course. So we got a line of weapon damage. I'm going to skip over the Minor Slayer. The line of a second line of weapon damage. And the fifth line has a line of crit chance. And then the tooltip reads, when you deal damage with a light attack, you apply Whirl of the Depths to the target, dealing 5,000 frost damage over 8 seconds. When this effect ends, a 5-meter whirlpool is created under the target for 6 seconds and deals 3,000 frost damage every 1 second. This can occur once every 18 seconds and scales off the higher of your weapon or spell damage. Any PvP context for this, or you think people are too mobile?
Well, it depends on how much it scales. So like if that frost damage over 8 seconds is similar to, say, what's it called? What's the Ice Wraith set? Icy Conjurer, right? That set does like 30k damage over 8 seconds. It's a really high tooltip. If that frost damage scales up to something similar, then it could be decent. Very niche. I don't think I would run it personally, but a Frost Magden could make use of it.
But if you compare it to Icy Conjurer, like Icy Conjurer is more like a dot that's on the person itself, whereas this is like a
this is both. This is both. I think you apply Whirl of Depths to the target, dealing 5k. I mean, I'm sure that scales, right?
Oh, it says
over 8 seconds.
It says under
as
the
well
target.
As a whirlpool. Well, the first part is to the target. The second part is also under. So from my understanding, you apply this dot to them. And then after that dot ends, a second dot is created under the target on the ground.
Copy.
So my opinion on it is that it's either a hit and miss. I don't know which it is. Maybe it's kind of going to just be in the middle ground. But the thing is it could have a potentially nice tooltip. The other thing is that what's kind of its only saving grace is the fact that these overtimes are low, and hopefully the damage is actually high, because usually that's how it works, right? Like you got like a low timer, and
Mm-hmm.
they usually end up actually being hitting pretty hard over that lower timer than the longer ones.
And it seems very easy to proc too. You just need to do a light attack, so you don't have to do much
Yeah.
thinking about it.
So I could see this like you're using it, you hit somebody, and then like everybody's just fighting in like this mosh pit, and then it drops, and then if you could at least get like a few ticks of it on 4 or 5 people, that's not bad value on it. Again, it could work, and it could also not work. There are worse sets, and I think that people will at least be trying it out to see what kind of results they can get out of it.
The only issue I see is it's a trial set, so like a lot of people just aren't going to farm it due to that nature, or at least a lot of
Right.
PvPers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially with High Isle.
Yeah, because I
Most
mean,
of
you kind of
these,
have to run the perfected version to use it in PvP, otherwise you're missing out on a line of gear. And a lot of PvPers just don't want to farm vet trials.
yeah,
I think the only exception is like Cloud Rest, right, for the Olarime set.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Cloud Rest is kind of easy too.
Yeah, it's a mini trial.
Yeah. The next perfected set is the Pillager's Prophet. It's got a line of Healing Done, Minor Aegis, Max Magicka, and the fifth line has Magicka Recovery. And the tooltip reads, casting an ultimate ability while in combat grants 5% of ultimate spent as ultimate up to a max of 20 to up to 11 group members within 12 meters every 2 seconds over 10 seconds. Group members can only be affected by this set every 45 seconds. And then there is a developer comment that they put with this. This set has been updated to shift away from granting a huge spike in immediate power to capping it and feeding it over time to the group. With this change, the most a player will be able to gain is 100 ultimate total, and over time will allow some of the bonus to feed into your next ultimate if you cast while the buff is active. With this, we hope to make the set more beneficial outside of highly coordinated groups that can line up all their ultimates in a short window, as well as reducing the burst potential of the set in those situations.
So I think that's kind of trolly for the one reason of they say, oh, we aim to reduce the, like amount of like burst ult gen, except it's still at max value 20 ult gen every 2 seconds, which is absurdly fast ult gen. You throw in like a ball group in PvP. I'm not, I don't really run in actual ball groups or anything, so I don't know exactly what group comps or whatever. But if you have someone in this and like Arcasis and they're just an ult bot generating ult for the group, you could get some serious uptimes on like healing ults, resto staves, prayers, whatever, barriers,
Yeah, for a large group, I think this is probably going to be pretty good. I don't really know. I don't know what the large groups are theory crafting, but for small group, I think the main question is, can you consistently get more ults from this than you can Arcases? Because if not, there's really no point in using it.
I think on a necro, like a necro healer with using this, I think you could get more ult. Because Arcasis is what, like 50 ult, I think?
44?
Yeah, so not
40,
even, and that's every 45 seconds. I can guarantee you I can hit 500 ult in 45 seconds, and that would be way more ult than Arcasis.
Well, the problem I see with that is that I guess you're sacrificing a lot of ults that you yourself could be using, like crystal ults or whatever
True,
else.
yeah.
And that in of itself is a sacrifice that comes with doing that. Whereas Arcasis doesn't really have a sacrifice. So I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think there could be like some pretty crazy group comps, but it's obviously it's a group set, so it's the beauty of sets like this is you're never going to know if the set is really doing well, because the groups that are going to be running this are going to be kicking your ass so hard, you're just going to be looking at the damage numbers.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, and the next perfected set is the Coil Riptide. It's got a line of crit chance, minor slayer, weapon damage, and crit chance. And the 5th line tooltip: increase your weapon and spell damage by up to 740 based on your missing stamina, reaching the maximum at 33% stamina. I think most people like to say it's the stamina version of Boss A's, but I think, Cameron, were you talking about this earlier this week, or maybe it was Candle?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, I was asking Candle about it earlier this week, just because my mind goes to bombers with this set. This set works in PvP, unlike Bosses, and it works. It's Magicka, or it's weapon and spell damage, right? So it's you're healing as well, and it's a lot of weapon and spell damage. It's the highest amount of weapon and spell damage out of any other set in the game. You're also not at empty stam, right? It's 33% stam, and if you have a lot of stam, that's still a good amount, still a good chunk of stam. Um, the issue would be, actually working out a build to where you can kind of stick in that low stam area, because obviously low stam in PvP is a scary place to be, because if you get stunned and you don't have enough, you're dead.
So I don't think that'll be too much of an issue, because like when you're in really sweaty situations, a lot of time your stamina is just naturally low, and then
Right, right.
you can work that around. There's actually a Stamswick player that I know, and he builds his builds to where he's like always going for broke.
Oh, I am too. Yeah.
He's always going for broke. He has like no resources, but the thing is that he hits very, very hard. So this set, like for him, would be very good, because in the case of like most stat sets, they don't really give enough to really compete with the proc sets. But this is like
There's a
this is
lot.
like 1.5 of most stat sets, right?
Well, so
You
take
know,
a look at my build, right? My build, I run 17.5K stam. I'm a hybrid mag crow on this setup, right? So I'm running quite a few mag abilities, but some, stam abilities as well. And I run a lot of well fitted, so I can dodge roll around a lot. And because I dodge roll around a lot, I'm low on stam. If I were to throw this set on, like instead of Plague Break, right? Obviously, I wouldn't have the proc, potential of Plague Break, but I could guarantee you I'd be hitting that low stam, or at least pretty damn close to that 740. Because even if you're only getting 600 out of the 740, that's still like almost as much as Clever, which is really good. And you
yeah,
can front
yeah.
bar this set. You don't have to double bar it.
Yeah, it's just crazy powerful. And it's very good, and that's another thing. Like clever is up less than 50% of the time. You could keep
Right.
this up 100% of the time, and this is more than what clever has to offer. If I said that, uh, what is it, that one set? Serpent's Disdain is the most interesting set of this patch. I would say that this set is also one of the highest potential sets of this patch, just because certain builds can just. I mean, I could see some people, going like 10k weapon and spell,
So
using
another
this
place
set.
my mind goes to with this set is you would have to double bar it, because you would have to run an arena set on front bar, but running this with Chaotic Whirlwind, because with Chaotic Whirlwind, the more you spam Chaotic Whirlwind, the higher your weapon and spell damage goes. So it's going to be, scaling even more. At max stats of Chaotic Whirlwind, you're probably going to be at 30% health or less, which means you're going to be getting you're going to be getting over 1k weapon and spell damage pretty much.
I don't know too much about that set, but yeah, I think. I mean, you could use this as just a front piece set. You could use it on the body. It's just strong enough that you could really put it, in either of those slots, and with a lot of different combinations. And I think that it'll perform quite exceptional.
So, with how overpowered you guys think it is, would it still be worth running
I
even if
wouldn't
it
say
was
overpowered.
well?
I'd hesitate to say overpowered, because the thing is, it's a stat set.
Mhm.
Stat sets are only as good as the player, right? Because you give a shitty player a ton of stats, they're not gonna really do anything.
Right.
Pardon my French, but it's so I think I wouldn't necessarily say overpowered, especially because it is kind of, you're playing with fire by sitting at 30% stam or less
It
all the time, right?
Yeah, it comes at a cost. The cost is that you need to be at low stand to use it. That's inherently risky. It's not as risky as some sets like Titanborn, but it's still risky. If you run out of stamina, you get CC'd, you got like 3 guys on you, you're gonna die.
Mm-hmm. So
So you got to be careful.
I'll rephrase it. So with the amount of potential that this set has, do you think running the normal version would still be worth it since you're losing that extra line of crit chance?
Maybe. It
Yeah,
kind
I
of
mean, a lot of
depends.
people use normal a lot.
Yeah,
Sorry for cutting
I
past
would
you
never
there.
probably farm the perfected version just because I hate vet trials. Or at least I don't hate them. I just don't ever run them because I don't really have a group that runs them. Um, so I would probably just use the normal version personally. And crit chance isn't a terrible thing to miss out on unless you're specifically going for a crit build. And if you're going for a crit build, you're probably not going to be running this set because you're probably going to be running the other set we talked about already, right?
Well, I mean, it's 2 pieces also crit, but yeah.
And that's true.
Um,
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I wouldn't hesitate too much to run the normal version. Just because crit
no.
chance isn't as valuable as something else would be, in my
Mhm.
I
opinion.
think any set that has value in general, any trial set just has value, you can justify using it in its normal version. I mean, a lot of people use normal Olorimes, and I would put the 5 piece of the crit chance in the same category of getting like the extra 800 and something odd magicka that you get from Olorimes. It's nice, but it's not necessary. It's not like getting 1180 pin or like an important recovery or something, because like pin and recovery and even weapon damage has more general value than like crit chance or um
They tend to scale better.
yeah,
Yeah.
or max stat generally.
Yeah, and I like to think that most people, well, at least I hope to think that most people, they wouldn't really complain if like, oh man, if I had that one line of weapon damage or that one line of max magicka, I would have beat you, you know?
Never know, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, actually, you know what? Wasn't somebody saying like a week or 2 weeks ago that um, if they got down to like maybe 500 health and it was that extra line of health that actually wound up helping out, and if they didn't have it, then they would have died.
That was me, I think.
Oh, that
I
was
was
you?
saying,
Okay.
yeah, so I have a buddy of mine who likes to not add the CP, the passive CP, not even the one that's a star.
Oh
But he
yeah,
doesn't
yep.
like to put the passives in for the extra health for some
Saying a
reason.
buddy of yours as if we don't all know who you're talking
Yeah.
about, Shoddy.
As if we don't all know who I'm talking about. But he doesn't like to do it. I don't understand why. But I said to him countless times, like, I've seen people go down to like 200 or less health and then survive. And they would have died without that amount of health. I mean, think about that for a minute. They survived, they made it through, and then they killed the people who were going after them. That would have not been possible if they didn't have that little extra health.
And I feel like those examples kind of set the pace or a little bit where it's like every line of whatever is important to some degree.
Yeah, and especially health. But I think that also kind of highlights, like, again, crit chance, maybe not going to help you as much. You could argue, oh, if I would have gotten that crit heal, but crit chance is always that. It's always a chance. So,
Yeah.
yes, stacking is important because every little bit helps, but I would value health or pen or recovery way over crit chance.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Okay, the last trial set is the Pearlescent Ward. It's got a line of max health, minor Aegis, healing taken, which I think is just another name for healing received, max health, and the 5th line reads, grants you and up to 11 other members Pearlescent Ward. This bonus persists through death. Let's see. Pearlescent Ward increases your team's weapon and spell damage by up to 180 based on the number of group members that are alive. And then I think let's see, the next tooltip, it says Pearlescent Ward increases damage reduction from non-player enemies out of 66% based on the number of group members that are dead. So I think the more people that are dead in the group, your damage reduction for that group, for those remaining alive, will actually increase up to 66%.
So probably not going to be a great set, even in trials, because to be honest, in trials, you should probably be staying alive, right? And I don't know if there'd be somewhere to fit this on a group in those better trials where you are staying alive. 180 weapon and spell damage is good, yeah, but whatever. PvP, obviously, probably not going to be pretty good because the damage taken is only from non-player enemies. I did want to mention that there is a chance that that applies to Blast Bones, which would be pretty sad, but I still don't think it would be that big of a deal because it's based on, the number of players dead and everything. I just don't think enough people would be running it.
I could see like the carry runs. You put this on like, a player that just wants the
carry
runs.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, like, put it on a tank or somebody who like is not, or who's like doing carry runs, or just like progression trials perhaps or something.
Yeah, good training set.
Deaths. And, these people aren't perfect. You expect them to die. Maybe half the group wipes. You see this coming, so you just put the set on, and it prevents a total group wipe, right? That's probably what the set is, basically.
Yeah, it's like a TPK killer.
You're not going to see it in PvP. You're not going to see it at the top-end trials. You're probably going to see it at the low-end trials where people are still learning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then once they're dead, you just keep them dead because they're better off that way. Oh, boy. Okay, now for the Mythics, that'll be the last section here. The first one is the Dovra Sabatons. The tooltip reads, while sprinting, gain a stack of Draconic Scales every 0.5 seconds, granting you 660 armor up to 20 stacks. Upon stopping, you deal 158 physical damage per stack in an 8-meter shockwave, gaining a damage shield equal to the damage dealt, and retain Draconic Scales for 10 seconds, but cannot gain new stacks. At 20 stacks, this damage will also stun for 3 seconds, and this will scale off the higher of your physical or spell resistances. So my only thought that this can be used is a stage 4 vampire that's kind of trolling or something.
Right, like a troll stage 4 build. The damage isn't going to be crazy high. I think at one point it was more. I thought, at least. I remember someone saying that the damage was like nuts on this, but it only seems like it can be a max of 3k, which would be halved in PvP anyways. So I don't think it's going to be that much damage, but
I'm not really sure. I don't really see this. It's a meme set more than likely. It's probably a meme.
But I don't know.
Some kind of ganker can put it in their build, but
if you could scale that damage up, it might be okay. We'll see.
The problem is it's physical spell resistance, right? We're already talking about it being only viable in ganking, so you already have the issue of, well, gankers don't really build for physical
So
spell
what you could do
resistance.
is you could run the vampire health drain with this and Pariah and drain your health down all the way, get a ton of physical and spell resist while sprinting towards an enemy invisibly. But again, now we're getting into like super like, oh, but you have to do this and you have to do this and you have to do this. Granted, there are gankers out there that will absolutely try this out, and there are gankers out there that will probably kill you with this, but I don't think everyone's going to be running it.
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about me for.
I doubt gankers won't be killing shoddy.
I doubt that the set is going to help a ganker get through 40k plus HP most of the time. So,
what if you had this set with Pariah and what is it? Is it Titanborn or something that gives you like that when you're below 25%?
Yeah, well, I would probably run it with instead of Titanborn. Titanborn has 10, which is nice. But I would run this with Truesworn, which is crit damage and crit chance.
At the same scalable rate?
Yes. Yeah, at the same scalable rate as Titanborn. It's like the same thing, same concept as Titanborn, but instead of weapon and spell damage, it's crit damage and crit chance.
Okay. Very memey.
Yeah,
it'd be super memey, but that's the only really use case I could see for it.
Yeah.
And I just think that, and you can't use it in any practical sense, right? In like a BG or
It's a very
just
trolly kind
a
of
normal
gear.
fight, right? Because you have to be you have to consistently be moving, but in high-end fights, a lot of times you're getting bombarded or you're getting,
So
CC'd or, just anything can stop you, and then that'll just stop your
so
stacks.
I will say it's a lot of armor. 20
13K.
stacks of 13k armor is quite a lot. And from what I've seen, the stacks don't like immediately decay. There's a little bit of a leeway. So this is a very good defensive mythic. We're talking about it offensively here. But from what I've seen in videos, this is actually a really good defensive mythic for something like a Stamsork. It adds tons and tons of defense so that you can just go all offense with the rest of your sets. Because 13k resist is pretty nuts at max stats.
Yeah, I mean, I could maybe see it. I guess it just depends if that Stamsork wants that or not. But
Yeah, I guess you could kind of, you're sprinting in, but then you streak in once you get your 20 stacks, and whether it, even though you stun them with the streak, you're still going to get the damage shield and the armor from it. So that's still pretty good, and then you just kind of square up for like 10 seconds, and then you just go back to kiting again for another 10 to get your stacks up, and then just kind of repeat. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. I guess Stamsorks could find a use for it, but I don't think most other people are going to.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the next mythic is the Left-Hander's Aegis belt. It reads, roll dodge no longer evades attacks and instead grants a damage shield that absorbs up to 24,139 damage over 1 second. This damage shield is unaffected by Battle Spirit. So
I'm going to be honest.
Go ahead.
I forgot this set was a thing, and I am now worried about this set again because I personally think this is going to be a really toxic set. I think this set's going to be used a lot because 24k shield, that's 24k extra health every second, okay? You build a roly-poly, all medium armor, a bunch of well-fitted, you can roll dodge pretty much all day you want.
Well, so I'll put my opinion on it. The thing is that you no longer evade attacks. That means everything is going to hit you. So you have to make sure that when you're dodge rolling, you're not taking more than 24,000, right?
True.
But the advantage of this set is actually that it mitigates AoE damage, whereas roll dodge does not. So
Correct.
It's mitigating both the direct damage stuff that you normally, or the direct damage single target stuff that you normally evade, but then you also mitigate the now AoE damage that usually is what ends up killing you.
Well, yes, and you understand why me as a mag crow would be upset by that.
Right. I mean, it's a defensive mythic. I
think there's better stuff, but I do think this has the potential to be really toxic.
You're going to see it on Nightblades, probably.
Yeah.
You think it's more for 1vxing, or you could see some people using
I
it
could
for
see
group
1vxers, good 1vxers using this to an extent, but I don't really know. I mean, it's hard to say because this is the kind of set where you really need to see it in practice.
Yeah.
Because if you're not evading attacks, that also means you're going to be hit by stuns. If you don't have CC immunity. Granted, you can still block stuns, but if you're spec'd into roll dodge, you're probably not spec'd into blocking. So it'll be tough. It'll be tough to know.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking I could almost guarantee or bet that at one point in time in the future, they will introduce a mythic version, not a mythic, but a craftable set very similar to Twiceborn Star, where it allows you to wear 2 different Mundus Stones. But this craftable set will be like Twiceborn Mythic or something. So it'll allow you to wear 2 mythics.
I don't think they'll ever do that. I hope not. And there'd be some seriously crazy stuff you could do with that.
I think that would be problematic.
I mean, Zos has done worse.
That's also true. They have.
Yeah.
Like, with freaking Oakensole coming out, could you really blame me, for even making this suggestion?
Yeah.
I guess anything's possible.
And plus, right, just to make it a little bit more, I guess, balanced, the 3-piece will just be the same as Twiceborn Star, right? Just 3 lines of max stats.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would make sense.
So, but yeah, no, I was just thinking Gaze of Sithis and then this left-hander's Aegis belt. as like one example of a weird combination.
Straight up kamikaze build at that point.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
all
boy.
your defense.
It's fun to think about the future sometimes. Okay, the next one is Maura's Whispers. Gain up to 1,500 crit chance and 10% increased inspiration, alliance rank, alliance skill, and 15% monster kill experience based off of how many books of Shadowdoor's library have been collected.
So this is about, I think this is an 8%, 7% crit chance, 1,500. I looked it up finally because I was forgetting what the exact conversion rate was. I think this is pretty good. It's 1% crit chance, but the issue is, and the reason why I don't think I would run it is a helmet, which means you cannot run a monster set, which kind of stinks.
So I don't think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty bad, actually.
Yeah?
For a mythic, I don't think 8% critical chance is enough to justify it. And
True.
it's almost like the same thing with a lot of people like Markin. I'm going to get some hate on this one, but I don't think Markin is. I think Markin's just kind of like okay. I think Death Dealers beats Markin 90% of the time. But Mythics, the Mythics should always be something that has a high reward with a medium cost, right? And this is just like a low reward with no cost. It's not really that special. This is more like you make a new character, you're leveling it up kind of thing.
Well, it is a higher crit chance. You got to keep in mind, it is a higher crit chance than any 5-piece bonus has in the game.
Is it? I
It
think
is, I think.
I guess maybe it's
except for I think like True Sworn, but because I'm pretty sure like Sorrow and everything. Yeah, Mother Sorrow is less crit chance than that. Not much less, but a little less.
The 5-piece of it,
right? Yeah, I guess that's okay, but I still think that it's kind of falls short.
It falls short, in my opinion, just because it's a helmet piece. I think if it wasn't a helmet piece, certain crit builds could think about running it. Again, I don't know if I would, but crit chance is hard to get nowadays. So having a one piece with crit chance isn't terrible sounding to me. I just don't like the fact that you wouldn't be able to run a monster set with it.
So you're saying that if it was a ring, you'd say...
Yeah, if it was a ring, I'd consider it for sure.
Okay.
And since it says alliance rank and skill, it sounds like it's literally just for your assault and support lines. Like,
right, it's leveling up. It's the experience. I don't think it's...
actual AP, right?
I don't think it's AP gain. It might be like AP rank points, like you're like leveling up to 5-star general, right?
Oh,
like
okay, yeah.
That, but you don't actually get more AP from it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So aside from the utility thing, the 15% crit chance doesn't really appeal to you guys at all?
No, not terribly much. It's interesting. Like, I want to like it, but it's just not quite there.
So I guess to make it viable, you would, I guess for you, Cameron, you would just have it not be a helmet. Like, but...
I'd have it be a ring. And honestly, I'd have it be a ring and probably increase the crit chance by another 100 or 200. But I like the idea of having a one piece with that much crit chance on it, just because, again, crit chance is really hard to get. And having it be a one piece crit chance means you could run 2 sets that don't actually have any crit chance or increase your crit chance at all, and just increase your damage in other ways.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I feel about the same with it. Like, if it's a ring, and instead of like 7%, maybe make it like 9 or 10%, then yeah, I'd say it would be pretty good at that point. But
you think,
again, it falls short of where it could be.
What about if it was a little bit more than Major Prophecy?
Major Prophecy is what, 10%?
No, it's 12. So if it was more than Major Prophecy, that'd be pretty good.
Yeah, that'd be really strong.
I mean, I guess it would still be considerable even as a helmet at that point. If it was like 13, 14%, yeah, I think even as a helmet, you could um, think about it at that point because that's a lot. You know, it's almost doubling it at that point because you're talking about 7 and 8 to 13, 14, right?
Yeah.
Big difference.
Okay. Next, we have the Oaken Soul Ring, which we did speak about a lot last week, but I do want to hear Camera's opinion on it since he wasn't here.
Yeah.
While equipped, you're unable to swap between your primary and backup weapon sets, and you gain Major Berserk, Courage, Brutality, Sorcery, Prophecy, Savagery, Force, Protection, Resolve, Heroism, and minor Intellect, Endurance, and Fortitude.
So I think you guys were sleeping on it just a little bit last week, okay? Not giving it quite the respect it deserves.
Hey,
I agree with pretty much everything you guys all said.
I'm looking forward to it, by the way.
Yeah, no, I know you are for the healing. But I think Candle and Shoddy were a little more hesitant on this. I agree with most of what they said, pretty much actually all of what they said. I do think crit builds are going to have, again, I'm a big crit guy. I love old school crit builds where you're just, smacking people for huge crit numbers. And the major force with the major berserk on this is very valuable, I think, for crit builds. It'll be very niche builds, very niche play styles, but you best believe you're going to see some Nightblades hitting you for like 40k ganks with this.
40k ganks.
I guarantee it. Guarantee it.
That's a lot.
Didn't we talk about ganks last episode, though? We were talking
you might have touched on it. I just want to reinforce that major force is no joke. It's a lot of damage.
I guess it's more like you're saying, like, you agree with everything that we said. We just didn't talk enough about what it can do versus what it
I think you guys,
do.
right. You guys, I think, talked a lot about how the current iteration is just a little underwhelming in the sense that it doesn't quite give enough. Like, you're giving up too much for what it gives, right?
Right. I talked about how 5 pieces
but I think
get sacrificed for a single ability.
Right. I think crit. I do think crit builds will have a lot more options when running this. Because when you're running crit builds, you're kind of already going all or nothing, right? You're already kind of trying to dump everything in. So why not go the extra mile and figure out a build? In crit builds are generally that way, where like you have all of your abilities are just kind of utilities for that one big burst. So a Nightblade ganker isn't really going to need much other than Invis and Shade and maybe a heal or two, and then like an offensive ability and an ult, right?
So you would say that you go for broke when you go.
I would right? Definitely say I would go for broke.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
We need a crit build version of the copy pasta.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, I gave Shoddy the other day a pitch for the healing version of that Go for Broke. It was
that's pretty nice.
It's pretty good.
I guess people here watching this probably don't know what we're talking about, though.
Oh yeah,
just a little bit of an inside joke. There's a copy pasta about going for broke. I think we mentioned we referenced it earlier too. So
yeah.
And if you want to get in on those inside jokes, we'll make sure to put a link in the description for a opportunity to join the Legend Syndicate Guild, which is the guild that Shoddy runs, and it's a PvP guild. So if you like to do BGs or small scale, large scale stuff in Cyrodiil or Imperial City,
I'd say probably mostly a BG small scale.
Yeah.
But we cater to all PvP. So
yes. So if you're interested in all that type of stuff, then feel free to join us over there. And the last mythic that we have here is the Sea Serpent's Coil. While at full health, you gain 40% damage reduction. After taking damage while at full health in combat, you gain Serpent's Rebuke for 10 seconds, snaring yourself by 40% and gaining Major Berserk and Major Courage, increasing your damage done by 10% and weapon and spell damage by 430. The damage reduction does not apply while the Serpent's Rebuke is active.
So I like the idea of this set, and I think there are ways that you can deal with that snare. I mean, you think about something like Ironblood, and like while Ironblood isn't amazing in like a really coordinated BG setting because you get left behind by your teammates, people do still run it for like 1vxing or solo or small man play, and deal with the snare. And the Ironblood snare is more than this snare. Um,
50%,
not by
right?
much, yeah, 50% versus 40. But I would also say if you're gonna run this, why not just figure out a setup you could run Oaken Soul? I mean, obviously not every class can do that, but like on a Necro, I look at this ring and the 40% snare and trying to deal with that would be equivalent to just dropping my back bar on a Necro for me because I'm not going to need a whole lot of abilities on a Necro anyways.
I think that it's not bad. Snares are the bane of most players, and even a good player who's like in a 1vx build, the moment they run into two players who are near equal skill, you're gonna lose and die, right? Because it 1vx builds are meant to play against bad players, not against multiple good players. But I see it being all right. I guess the worst part about it is that you can't really ever use it in a group setting, because in a group setting, most people should be using courage anyways for the whole group. This already gives you that, so at that point, you'd really only be getting the berserk.
Mm-hmm.
So too much sacrifice. But for a solo player, I do think that it's not bad. It's not bad. Good damage.
Yeah, you'll definitely see people running around like Icy with this on.
I think a lot
solo.
of people are gonna be doing the Iron Blood in this together.
Right.
Oh yeah, because that would be 50%, and then you get another 40.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Briefly. Well, I guess the initial hit would be damage mitigation, but then yeah, I with that in Ironblood, would those snares stack?
They don't stack additively, they stack multiplicatively. So you'd be down to like I don't know what it is, right? So it'd be like 40% and then 50% of that 60%. So like you'd be down to like 30%-ish snare or something like that.
I thought it just took the whatever.
It wouldn't just be 90. No, snares used to do that, and then Magden came out and everyone hated snares. So they changed the way they stack.
Oh, I thought it was just whatever was the most recent one that was applied. That's what you would be hit with.
And it might be that. It might actually be just. Well, I don't know. It's also hard to tell because they're sets, so they might interact with each other differently, right?
I always thought it was, maybe not so much now, but I always thought it was whichever one was the highest snare on you at the time.
Yeah,
so
that's what I thought it was. Well, yeah, I guess that is what they changed it to, wasn't it? I don't know. Basically, snares are weird, and it's also hard to know because these are sets that don't. I don't know if. Can you get rid of the Ironblood snare?
Negative.
Like,
no,
like in any way, mitigate it in any way?
Misform. That's
okay.
the only. That's only. It's the same thing for this one, right? You can do a misform build with these two things, and during misform, it would not snare you.
You could also stack a lot of movement speed, right? Because I think I saw. What's that?
I think you have to stack base movement speed, though. I don't know. I don't know if Major Expedition or anything would help you out. I don't know how that works with Ironblood. I've never run Ironblood personally.
I think
so
it would,
I could
but
be talking
at the same time,
nonsense.
I think your worst mistake would be put Swift on with this ring.
Right.
I saw a werewolf running Ironblood, and he was freaking faster than all of us. For context.
Yeah.
But because werewolves, do they get Major Berserk in their kit?
They do, but they have to run the version of the Howl that makes them take more damage, which is actually getting nerfed next patch to make them take even more damage. So pretty much no one runs it.
Okay, so I guess technically a werewolf could run this.
A werewolf could absolutely run this, yes. Yeah. But if you're running this, again, why not run, especially on a werewolf, why not run Oaken Soul, and you're getting more out of it?
Yeah, there's no reason for a werewolf to not use Oaken Soul.
You know what? Because Oaken Soul, you're getting both of those two buffs, but then
you're getting both of those buffs with no downside on no werewolf. So.
Yeah, that would be kind of funny. Okay, so that kind of covers the new set review for High Isle. Do you guys have? And we're like 20 minutes over the 1 hour time, which is fine though, because nobody told me they had anything else to do afterwards, so we're cool on that. Do you guys have anything else to say before we do a hard close?
Not really. I'm excited for the next patch.
No.
I mean, not tons of things are changing, but new sets always help shake things up a bit. And Even though none of these sets are standing out like crazy, maybe with the exception of the weapon and spell damage based on your stamina set, Coral Riptide, uh, I think it'll be a fun patch. So,
Forgetting Serpent's Disdain, but yeah,
oh yeah,
I mean,
Serpent's
I'm not.
Disdain.
I a lot of the stuff that you can. I mean, besides Mythics and the trial sets, like a lot of the stuff you can just get without the chapter itself because. Let's be real. There's not really anything this chapter's offering other than sets. So if you're not looking for a mythic or a trial set, don't really need it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to look forward to. Otherwise, you could go for something on here. Maybe you're looking forward to some of the class changes. Yeah, I mean, it's still pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
They're not breaking anything. At least that's the most important part.
Yeah. Since Camera mentioned it, do you think that I think there's over, I wrote it down somewhere, but I think there's over 500 different sets in the game. Do we need more sets to be introduced? Or you think we're already good?
I think they need to start going back to old sets, personally. But the issue is new sets sell content. I mean, like, if they really want to start selling content, and I've been saying this for a while, I think if they should start going back through old sets, and I think with newer content, they should start introducing class arena weapons. Um, Expanding on sets in other ways that don't involve just adding, more 5-piece sets that are all the same. Mythics kind of helped a little bit, but now we're getting oversaturated with Mythics even. I think they need to kind of start thinking more outside the box than they are, in addition to going back to all the unused sets, because there's so many sets that just go completely unused.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Shadi?
Yeah, I think that would be a cool idea. Some class arena style weapons, maybe. Dare I say class like 5 pieces. I mean that I guess that starts to step into a weird zone of contradiction with play how you like
Mm-hmm.
motto that they like to go with. But it would make things more interesting,
Ooh,
at least.
maybe we save this for a different show then. Because I was thinking, if you could kind of treat it like a mythic maybe. Like, would you be allowed to wear a mythic and a class piece? Because I'm assuming the
Well, I
class
think
piece
yes.
would be
I
so
think you could
busted.
make the class piece an arena weapon and have it modify like one specific class skill. So instead of, your deadly slashes, twin slashes arena weapon, you could have a dual wield that says like blast bones now does bleed damage or whatever. Like something like that, right? Where you just have it change the effect of a certain class skill.
Hmm.
Yep,
And
interesting topic.
yeah, and I would imagine like at a base level, not so that there's like two different. I guess say there were two different versions of it, like one for each morph, or do you think it should be like a base level?
Well, yeah, like at a base level, right? Like just it adds something in addition, right? So it'll change it or add something to it in some sort of way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll save it.
But yeah, we
I
can
got
talk about that.
I got
We
so
can talk
many
about
other
that on a
questions, so
later
we can keep
episode.
talking about it. So it's just I'm getting excited now. Okay. All right.
We'll save it for another time.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So with that, we will catch you guys next week or whenever I feel like doing an episode 3. See ya.
Yeah. See ya.